Greetings, fellow adventurers, and welcome to the Couple of Nerds podcast. I'm DndWife, the creator of DndWifeStories.com, and your co-host. Joining me is the man behind the screen, my brilliant dungeon master, and also my husband, Eguile. Say hi, Eguile.
Hey everyone, excited to be here sharing our nerdy adventures with all of you.
Absolutely. So what's Couple of Nerds all about? Well, we're diving into the realms of Extraeus, sharing our experiences, playing D&D in our apartment, and exploring the intricate tapestry of relationships both in and out of the game.
And we got some exciting segments for you all, from lore deep dives to crafting tips, artwork showcases, and relationship advice on and off the table. We've got a little bit of everything for every kind of adventurer.
So whether you're a seasoned adventurer or a tabletop newbie, we invite you to join us today. Tune in, relax, and enjoy the magic of Couple of Nerds. May your rolls be natural 20s and your adventures be legendary. Welcome back to Couple of Nerds, the podcast where we cover all things nerdy, Dungeons and Dragons, crafts, and so much more. I'm your host, DndWife, and joining me is my co-host, Dungeon Master Eguile.
Hey everyone, so before we get started, I will have to say I have zero skill when it comes to graphic design, drawing, anything like that. I use my words, not my hands. So I think it's best that we just allow our special guests to take my spot and really have their expertise come to light, because I am of no use to you guys on this one. So I'm definitely going to just step out for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Joining me today is special guest and graphic artist Entlink, that's Entlynk, on Instagram or X, if you'd like to go ahead and follow them. She also plays Bogbean in our campaign. How's it going there, Entlink?
Doing good. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome to have this dual experience on the campaign with you guys. So
yeah, it's super fun, and it kind of gives you a little bit of insider knowledge as to what's going on behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So first, we're going to be talking about kind of how we got started in all of this. You know, how did we get connected to art? Why does it call to us, basically? How did you start out?
Oh, for me, it was an escape. I was always drawing as a kid. I was, that kid. There's always that kid that's always drawing. They have tons of notebooks, but yeah. That's probably where I started. How about you?
Same thing. When you grow up with not a lot, paper tends to be what you kind of cleave to. And so I would watch all of these different early anime shows that we would watch as kids, like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'd want to draw the characters. And I think that's how a lot of artists start off. You know, we try to copy the things that we love, the things that we enjoy. And that's exactly what happened, with the both of us.
The first drawing I remember being proud of was a Jolteon. I don't know.
That's cool, yeah.
Just having some kind of, you want to put it into something you love. And, I found a new form of that here with D&D. So.
Absolutely. Oof. I don't know what the first one I did is. I think I did a dragon. It was very small, but I tried to make it as good looking as possible. Ooh. I was so happy. It looked like somewhat of a dragon.
Nice. So you've always been in that fantasy vein of it, huh?
Oh, yes. I've always loved fantasy. Ever since I could pick up a book, it's really been the main focus of my artistic sort of direction. And so now that we have D&D involved in our lives, that's kind of changed the trajectory of our art as well, because I've made the transition over to miniature painting, and that was a huge deal, going from 2D sketchbooks to painting a 3D model. And you've joined in too, doing all of our character sketches for this new campaign, and doing some of the character sketches for our old campaigns, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. That was actually really cool that you guys commissioned me to make your that got me back into it when I was making your previous campaigns, character art. That's where, especially as an adult now, as a kid, I had so much time to just sit and draw and pour into it. And now I kind of, with everything vying for your attention and your time, which is so limited, between a job and everything, to have that motivation that's real, that's character driven, that's what's really made it for me. Which, then it has improved. I'm sure this is off topic, but depression and other things, it really helps to have a community around a certain thing.
Yeah, and it helps to have an outlet too. I think the artwork and just by being in the campaign, the artwork takes on that vibe, that the emotion that we put into our characters, and that helps us as well, to let those emotions out when we're feeling frustrated.
It's so real.
Even if you're using pencil to draw a sketch on, a notepad, or you're using a digital pad, it all serves a purpose to put our innermost thoughts onto some sort of medium to show everybody.
I know you and I, we sit across from each other at the table, and I can see like we're both doodling in our margins and such, which I know will become like, art later that we all get to share, which is really special. But yeah, oftentimes I even will take those sketches and like underlay them for my digital sketches, and it's like a really direct line into it.
Yeah, they provide a kind of foundation for bigger pieces that we can evolve more as we put them on canvases. So that's really nice too. And then those sketches can make their way onto any medium. You put them into your digital canvas, but I also I like to paint a lot on regular canvas, and I like to sketch a lot. I'm just barely getting into digital artwork now, to try and do some of the landscaping for Extraeus. So that's going to be an interesting way to see how I can evolve in that regard. But we're also going to be talking about how digital art specifically has kind of taken over a large portion of D&D artwork. The mediums for it have really transitioned a lot to digital, especially with character portraits, things like that.
Absolutely. I feel like it's more, I guess, accessible now, because before it was... I started out with I think it was an Intuos tablet, where you're not able to really like draw on the screen. It's a disconnect, which was such a hurdle to get over as a traditional artist.
Yeah, and I tried too. I tried with the Wacom trackpad. That was tough as nails to get as well. Just because for people like us who are used to sketching on paper first, that's how we got started. I think it's a little difficult to accommodate to that disconnect between the trackpad and the screen. You want to draw on the paper. You want to draw on the screen to see where your pen strokes take you.
It's much more organic with you have to play around with like your pen pressure and everything.
Yeah.
Like I struggled to get my stuff to look sketch-like. It was almost too clean on digital to look correct. So it was like, I don't know, something to get used to for sure.
Yeah, it's tough you have to learn things like transparency and how that works, and sketching and the layering. That's a difficult thing as well to get grasp. I'm having trouble with that.
Just so many different tools. I know you use software on your tablet, and I'm still with Clip Studio right now. I know they've had some discourse around them, but man, like being on a budget, I'm also kind of sticking with the devil I know. But relearning an entire new like program, be it free or not, is another thing for on the digital side.
Yeah, that is really tough. I am kind of grateful that I'm starting off with a free software, just because the pen, the brushes, they're a lot simpler. So I don't feel like I have to know a lot about brushes and different things I can do with them. I can start off small, and then once I get better, I think I can adapt to Clip Studio Paint. But I tried doing Clip Studio Paint right off the bat, and it was so intimidating with all the buttons, all the different things you could do.
Yeah, there's so many tools, and like, certain things in different like programs have different names, or they just have like some like little quirky differences about them that you have to like relearn. I'm still learning things.
Yeah.
Like I'm like still learning tips and tricks and like ways that are making my process faster, and that used to make my progress so much slower, because I'm like, wow, I'm struggling to use this program like 2 years later.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing.
And yeah, but we still, I think, do a really good job, especially you, of bringing those characters to life through the digital medium. The way that we've seen the Bogbean comics come out, we've seen some of this artwork come out for our table that's just like little doodles, little sketches, but they look so good because they've got the flavor of our table in them.
Thank you. It really means a lot to me that like, I found something to put so much energy into, and it's like, I get that energy right back. So it feeds into it for sure. That's definitely how I process a lot of the story, really, is through the visual. I need the visual to like, I like drawing the gags or like different like character moments that are shared.
And it's always fun to see those emotions come to life on a canvas, which is fun. But do you have any tricks or tips that you use to kind of exude those emotions that you bring to life in those canvases?
Oh, it's so difficult to like give advice because everyone finds it differently. But like the way that I was kind of intellectualizing the process, like I was having a conversation the other day about like, I just look at it till it like it looks wrong to me, and then I'm like, okay, like I need to find something to shift. And like that's what's cool with digital art is like sometimes you can, like with the Clip Studio version that I have, you have the option to liquefy multiple layers in a folder. And yeah, so you don't have to like, I don't know, you can kind of like push things around instead of like redrawing the entire thing.
You can manipulate it a little easier.
Absolutely. So you don't have to like always be like erasing necessarily, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the give and take, I guess, for digital and traditional art. But
Because those are the problems you run into with paper sketching. If you erase too much, the paper gets damaged and then you can't finish. You have to kind of start over again.
absolutely. And there is the last tip I'll have for like the digital art is the like I've been very fond of like shape carving, which like off of what you were saying with the like over erasing, you don't have that problem with the digital. So you can just kind of erase your chunky lines into like a cool kind of like jagged line. I don't know. I'm very fond of the style. It kind of gives it like a certain flow. You can kind of carve out the shapes you want versus creating them outright.
That's pretty cool. It makes it a little easier, I bet. But we also want to talk about how different it is to have those different palettes, different artistic mediums that we use. Like we talked about before, the tracking tablet was not as good because you couldn't feel that connection.
Yeah.
But I do think that if you have never done a sketch work before on paper and you start off on the trackpad, that isn't as bad as going from sketch to trackpad.
Yeah.
There's not so much of a disconnect.
Exactly. You're purely learning versus like relearning or like, you know, trying to fit it into something else. Absolutely.
Yeah, you adjust sometimes the way that you view the way art is supposed to be done. And that's not always possible sometimes with the way our brains work. But the tablets really allow you to feel like you're sketching on a piece of paper. Some of them even have like a journal style type of way to organize your files so that it does feel a little bit more like a sketchbook. And it's nice to be able to manipulate the lines, the color, and not have to worry about having to start over again on a piece. That is something that is a huge draw for the digital art
Absolutely. Medium, I do this a lot where I duplicate a layer because I want to save what I have, but I want to rework it at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't, I have that kind of, it's almost like save scumming. I have my reassurance that, I can go back.
Yeah, just in case the changes don't work out. You want to make sure that you still have your original that you thought was at least good enough to stop right there and save,
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's harder to do with traditional sketches. You can't really manipulate the lines without damaging the paper aspect of it, and that's the problem. Same thing with canvas work. It is a little easier when you're working with paint to paint over an area that you think didn't work out or something, but it still shows in the brush strokes. And even when they do cool little 3D imaging of old artwork, you can see the paint underneath. You can see the old work underneath that. So that's where those aspects of physical art kind of affect the finished product, but digital artwork can be really clean at the end.
Absolutely. It's really cool that you bring that up to they're so different, but also it's the same habits just reimagined in a different medium, which is really endearing to see from people.
Yeah, that is fun. And just not having to throw away your work, I think, is also it's a great motivator to keep going in the digital art space.
Absolutely.
And they do enhance our storytelling, especially at the table. The sketches that you've done that we've seen, even just the doodles that we've had come from the table, the little things that we've done. I'm just going to tease out there a Salt Bay Tobias. It looks amazing, and it adds so much flavor to the story because now we have something to reference, something to be like, oh, he's cooking again.
It brings so much fun. Everyone can have fun with it. Everyone's just oh man, my character's a meme,
right? And everyone's in on the joke, and it feels more connective because everyone's like, I know what they're talking about. I've seen it. I have it saved. It's one of my screensavers.
It's really cool, the reception from my perspective, because I have a little bit of aphantasia where I can't really people ask me how you draw, and it's I don't know. And that's what was a big
I can't
scare
explain
going,
it, yeah.
going into D&D. I was like, oh, I'm going to be so bad at this
Mm-hmm.
because I can't visualize. But then like I physically can create that visualization,
Yeah.
which in turn will like go in and help get me like more into the story.
That's
So
interesting. I think that's a really cool to not be able to do it on your own, but through artwork be able to make that connection. That's really fun.
Everyone's got their thing. They're
Absolutely.
in.
And talking about that storytelling fusion with the visual artwork, we're going to be talking about the comic that you've put together for us for this comic cave. That's really fun. It's about when Bogbean first met up with Bricky. So tell us a little bit about what your artwork looks like. The kind of story that it follows.
I took so much from just our table, like that table experience of, she's gnawing her way out of this crate and she's accidentally knocks over another bag, like thinks nothing of it, but like a head falls out and he's a little stinky. She wants to investigate and but this dead thing starts making noise and is talking, so she's a little freaked out.
But if I can see correctly, he can't make words. He can only, because his mouth is sewn shut.
Yes, so he's
like,
got stitches all over, but his mouth is in particular not in use right now.
Oh no, so he can't even answer you.
She's got to investigate farther.
Right, and there's Bogbean saying, smells dead. Hey, you dead?
You dead? She's so innocent, and this is her first, like, entrance into like the outside world. She doesn't know anything.
Yeah, but Bogbean's done some hunting, and so she knows what dead.
She knows what dead smells like.
But
it
he's
is such
moving.
It is such an affront that he's able to make noise and move and all this
when he should be food.
Right?
Food does not talk.
If only he smelled a little better. She'll have to find food later on.
Yeah,
she has another source of food that she finds.
And how does Bogbean kind of connect with Entlink, the artist?
It's been really nice because I've made some changes to her design over the course of playing her. It makes sense to me now as a newbie player that the characters really create themselves. And she totally took on a world of her own. And she's really fun and easy to draw, so like I'm sure I'm biased because she's my character. I can put so much, but her relation to everyone else also kind of spurs it on, where we have a few moments of I'll probably post these another time looking forward, but like I have a sketch of stealing food from Tobias and he's whacking her with a spoon. What do you think? Like, we don't know each other yet and all these things, But yeah, I can't wait to see where it goes. It's been really engaging.
And the comic definitely captures that innocence, that she doesn't know where she is, where she's going, who this thing is that just popped out. And she's just kind of at a loss right now when we find her. And she doesn't know where she is, I think, right?
No,
at this point,
because that's why like the scene, once it's so dark because they're in a hull of a ship. They literally they don't know this yet, but it's very dark. There's no way to really like know what she's surrounded by. There's so much, there's boxes and everything around, but it's really cool to actually get like the D&D experience that I thought originally was that I have to generate all this stuff myself out of nowhere.
That you have to think about it all.
Yeah, but you guys have really, the way that you created your world, I'm just kind of nestled right into it and like, using that as an inspiration, which has been fun because, I don't know if you want to talk about, you're the landscape end of this.
Yes.
And so you've really been able to create the setting in which I can visualize all of this stuff happening.
Yeah, I was in charge of a lot of the geographical formations of the world. So giving you a setting for how that works, and for the ship, for this comic, it's really small because it's not a big ship. It's really cramped. It's a cargo hold, and that's about it. There's no room for people, or at least bigger sized people, because Bogbean's a little goblin.
And Bricky, once we get his head on, which is after this scene, once she sews his head back on his body that they find, he's what, like 7 foot tall?
He's a big man,
but a big
person
thing.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
got a
Could
bunch of
appreciate
different
that.
aspects to himself, but we'll let Bricky explain that himself
Right.
later. But yeah, I think it really showcases the startledness of Bogbean in this moment, finding all this crazy stuff and just being bombarded
The
with
expression.
new information.
The character player who plays Bricky, he actually reached out to me and was telling me how, he's actually DM'd and he's been playing, you know him better than I do, but like how long? Like 9 years or something?
For a while,
longer
at least
than
a decade,
that.
yeah.
And, someone like that is telling me like this campaign hits so much different because they can see these things happening, through the artwork that we're putting together.
Yeah.
And, it feels a little different when you can see that shocked expression that you played out, like on paper, forever.
Yeah, that is super fun to hear, especially experienced players who have done this before and not done this only with us, but with other tables as well, say that they really appreciate how the artwork is bringing the world to life. I'm really excited to be able to give people an idea of how the sky looks, how the night looks, how the characters look through you and your work. It'll be so much fun to kind of bring that world more to life for everybody as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just the few sneak peeks that you've shown me is it's just so cool. Like I feel almost like cheating where I get to see like, oh, these are the many places that we might go and such.
It'll be super fun. But yeah, you get little sneak peeks, but it's okay. We keep them from ruining our moments.
No,
they're just little sneak peeks.
No spoilers or anything, but it's going to be cool to kind of progressively start leaking this on like the Discord and stuff and sharing it with everyone.
If you'd like to find out, you can check out Comic Cave. It's a specific channel on our Discord where we're going to be posting the specific comic that we're talking about today, as well as some of the other sketches. I've also come up with a day sky for Extraeus and a night sky for Extraeus that will be posted as well. And just let us know what you think. Leave us comments, suggestions for what you'd like to see later. That would be super fun as well. We'd like to see what everybody else thinks too. And then I want to thank everybody for joining us today, hearing what Entlink has to say about our artwork. It's super fun having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us here.
It's been so fun. Like, it's so new, but like, it's really cool to be able to like share and talk about our experience here.
Yeah, and we didn't start off as the most professional of people, so I think this goes to show that anybody can create artwork. Anybody can choose any type of artistic medium, whether it's miniature painting, digital artwork, or just on a napkin at a bar. If you can create something artistic, you should be able to post that somewhere, show somebody, receive some sort of accolade for
Absolutely.
it. So we definitely encourage you guys to show us your artwork, show us how your character looks in your campaign. That'll be super fun to see how other people have a perspective of themselves.
Absolutely. That's going to be super cool to just see how it grows and,
Yeah, absolutely, how it comes together. And we're also going to keep having more Comic Cave episodes with more incredible art. The next piece that we're going to be talking about, I'm super excited for. It's called Escape from the Hull. So we finally get to see where these two introduced characters of Bricky and Bogbean go.
Yep. Where will they find themselves? What's on the other end of this dark room,
Where does the door lead? And so thank you so much for joining us, Entlink. We really appreciate your artistic insights into how we're going to bring this world to life, not just for our players, but for the listeners and for everybody on the Discord.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you all for joining us on this adventure in the realms of Couple of Nerds. If you've enjoyed the journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your support means the world to us.
Absolutely. And if you have any burning questions, want advice, or just want to share your own nerdy tales, feel free to reach out in the comments or at DndWifeStories.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Stay tuned for our next episode. In our apartment craft segment, we will explore options for table and apartment setups that will help you breeze through it. Until then, may your dice be kind, your campaigns epic, and your adventures legendary.
Stay nerdy, adventurers.